Bowl. Not enough people are having this conversation, James, this conversation of McCarthy taking over plays. Your play caller dictates a lot in the game of football.
Yeah.
Now, I do not think Mike McCarthy calling plays for the Cowboys will make the difference. The reason I don't think it will make the difference is because if you all recall, Kellen Moore commanded 2 number-1 offenses with the Dallas Cowboys in, I believe, just 5 years as the offensive coordinator. Keep in mind, last year, when Dak Prescott did play, they also were a top-flight offense. So it's not as though the offense had that many issues.
Yeah.
We want to blame the run game, Mike McCarthy does, but the Cowboys ran the ball the 6th most times in the National Football League. If you want to look at the divisional game in which they lost to the 49ers, Tony Pollard got hurt. Second quarter, end of it. Zeke still got 10 carries. Zeke is worst in the running backs in yards per carry, if you want to talk about running backs who had more than 200 carries. And the 49ers had the second best defense in yards per carry allowed. So common sense says, don't run the ball. In my mind, this is really just Mike McCarthy trying to use a little bit of divergence, a little bit of a decoy to distract us from the fact that the Cowboys are underperforming. But what do you think? Do you think McCarthy calling plays will be the difference?
I don't think it's going to be the difference in winning the Super Bowl. I'm not going to say Coach Mike taking over the play call and they're going to win the Super Bowl. But Dak Prescott will benefit, right? And Kellen Moore was so caught up in his own ways that this is how I'm calling the game. No matter how the game goes, this is how I'm calling the game. This is what I got written down for third down. That's what I'm running on third down. I don't care if the quarterback's struggling. I don't care if we're running the ball well. This is what I'm calling on third down. Coach Mike is going to help Dak Prescott in that area. If Dak Prescott is struggling, maybe going through a slump to where he's turning the football over, you know what we're going to do? We're not taking these shot plays down the field. We're getting the ball out of your hands fast if we're throwing this football. Slants, hitches, get it out of your hands, quick decisions, or we're going to run the ball. I am going to protect you the way I call the play. Kellen Moore did not protect Dak Prescott when Dak Prescott was struggling. I'm not saying that Kellen Moore can go out there and throw the ball for Dak Prescott, right? As a quarterback, you're making that much money, you should be able to make the right decisions with the football. But when you are struggling as a coach, you have to help your players. And he did not help him the way he called the play calling. Coach Mike will help him calling the plays, and you will see a much better Dak Prescott.
Well, then I have 2 thoughts. One, a coach can't cross the white lines.
No.
They never can. And when you cross the white lines, it's all about the player. So that's my first thought. But my second question then is, if indeed McCarthy will help Dak Prescott, as I have said, as Shady has said, as Joy has said, the difference between the Cowboys and Super Bowl, at least as of late, has been Dak Prescott. If McCarthy gonna help the difference in the Cowboys and Super Bowl, how would you not say then he's gonna help him win a Super Bowl?
The only reason I'm gonna say that is because when Dak Prescott hit the scene, even though he was turning the ball over, he was scoring dang near 30 points a game, right? And the defense was giving up 31. You get what I'm saying? When Cooper Rush was in the game, they was giving up 17, 18, 19 points a game, and they was finding ways to win games. If the defense plays the way they played when Cooper Rush was there and Mike McCarthy is calling the plays, then we're talking about Super Bowl. Because if Dak Prescott is the problem, and I truly believe Coach Mike is going to take his game to a whole nother level with the way he calls plays. I've seen him do it with Aaron Rodgers. As a young Aaron Rodgers, you win 6 games, and then now you're talking 3 MVPs under Coach Mike McCarthy calling the plays, right? It's very simple. It's easy for you. The ball comes out of your hands. You have the playmakers around you, like Aaron Rodgers had the playmakers around you, to win and get the ball out of your hands. It's not a lot of difficulty. Kellen Moore's offense was a lot of difficulty. If you watch them run pass concepts, it's post corner with a deep over and all this, just a lot of difficulty. It's going to be very simple. Let your playmakers make plays. That's how Coach Mike calls the game. Get the ball into your playmakers' hands, let them make plays, and let them do what they do with the ball in their hands after the catch.
Well, you know I don't talk about the Cowboys in the Super Bowl because that's a waste of time. But I am interested to see what it looks like with Mike McCarthy calling plays. Also because the last time he was calling plays, they weren't doing so well.
Not at all.
He went 11-16-1 in his last 2 seasons in Green Bay. He was fired after week 13 in 2018. So the last time we saw him in this role, it wasn't so hot. Now, maybe it will be different this time around. I think it kind of has to be different this time around. Simplifying it is interesting to me because that's when Dak had the most success, when he was more reeled in. So can Dak make that adjustment? That will be interesting to see. I just think the excuses are off the table for the Cowboys, and him moving into this role and then moving off of Kellen Moore is kind of a risk because we know Dak is not the one who's going to get blamed, right? That's just like, I'm kind of with Shady on that. Like, we all have eyeballs, but somehow it's like, okay, this is not Dak's fault. Well, now Kellen Moore's gone. He's had a successful offense. Not a Super Bowl offense, but a successful offense. Most people would take the #1 offense in the league.
No doubt.
But now if it doesn't go well or if they regress, it's going to be put on Mike.
And if they're losing.
Correct, yes.
Did you just draw a comparison of Mike working with Dak and Mike working with Aaron?
I'm talking about making it simple. I'm talking about making it simple. I'm not putting Dak and Aaron Rodgers in the same category.
You kind of like,
making it simple,
you kind of paralleling.
It's a little slanderous, Rick.
No, I don't. This is what I don't understand. So Mike McCarthy, based on what we've heard and what James said, is the reason that he's taking over the play calling is because they were giving Dak more than he could handle. Kellen Moore was giving him more than he could handle. And we need to be a little more conservative. We need to pull it back. How many Super Bowls did they go to when they pulled it back and they were conservative with Dak Prescott?
0.
Like, it's not...
Yeah.
That's not the answer. To your point, yeah, Dak's numbers may be better, his TD to interception ratio may be better, but does it get him any closer to a Super Bowl? No, because what we know about quarterbacks that lead you to Super Bowls is that at some point they have to make a dynamic play. And when you look at the talent that the Dallas Cowboys have, you're wasting a resource if you're not throwing downfield and trying to hit them. And this is the question I have that I don't have an answer to. You may... one of you may. Was Kellen Moore calling what he did on 3rd down because that's what he wanted to call or because that's what the situation called for? And so it wasn't a matter of like, I can put Dak in his comfort zone, but it's not going to get done what we need to get done in this particular situation versus like, look, this is what we need to do in this situation, and I hope Dak can do it, and he couldn't.
Kellen Moore was super aggressive as a play caller, right? And it led them to the #1 offense. I'm not saying Kellen Moore's a bad offensive coordinator and a bad play caller, right? But when you have a quarterback struggling, turning the football over, you have to eliminate them shot plays, whether you think he can do it or not. You might be in your head that, hey, Dak Prescott going to make this play this time. He showed you that I'm struggling right now with what I'm seeing and how I'm throwing this football when we are taking these shot plays and we're being aggressive. As an offensive play caller, you got to step back and say, ooh, I want to call this on 3rd down, but I can't right now. You got what I'm saying? Because I got to protect my player, right? And are we talking about a player that's making a bunch of big-time money and you shouldn't have to do that? Absolutely.
That part.
But at a time as a coach, right, you have to help your players. You got to get the best out of your players, and calling shot plays and staying aggressive when your quarterback is struggling. That's not what you want to do. It's the same thing the Buffalo Bills did with Josh Allen.
Here's my dilemma, though, JJ, and I have 2 of them. My first and most notable dilemma is if you were that great a play caller, Mike McCarthy, which James seems to believe that you are, I will not dismiss it just yet, though I have not been overly impressed. If you are that great a play caller, why would you ever inherit a job in which you can't call plays? That doesn't make any sense. Well, if I'm that skilled at something, I'm not going to take on a job where I can't do the one thing I'm most skilled at. That is unreasonable.
Well, that's the Jerry Jones effect, too, though, right? If you want to be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys and Jerry says, hey, this young fella right here, at least right now, is untouchable, and Kellen Moore was what they said, right? Coach Mike took the job. They said, this dude right here stays. You got what I'm saying? Right now, that Coach Mike has done well, and they've had back-to-back winning seasons, done really well. Coach Mike is like, now I get a little bit more say-so in this thing. You know what I mean? I want to run the ship how I want to run the ship. If I'm going to sink it, I'm going to sink it. Kellen Moore ain't gonna sink it for me. You know what I mean? So now Coach Mike can come to Jerry. Look, I done put together two good seasons. We won 1 playoff game this year, right? My quarterback was the reason we lost in the San Francisco game, right? And it was things that I could have did to help him. Right, so I want to take over this play calling. Coach Mike, hold on real quick. Coach Mike does not get enough credit for what he does. Sean Payton gets all this credit. No, for real. Sean Payton gets all this credit, right? And he ain't done too much more than Coach Mike McCarthy with Drew Brees. You got what I'm saying? But Coach Mike, when you put his stats up against these great coaches, the Sean Paytons, whoever you want to put him up there with, he's right there, right? He is right there, and you can look it up, do whatever you got to do, Google. No, Coach Mike is right there. He don't get enough credit for what he does for organizations. Came and flipped the Packers around. Came over here, now he got the Dallas Cowboys winning. We talking about Super Bowl up here if Dak Prescott doing right. Because of him right there, y'all see him? Y'all see him? Coach Mike, he don't get enough credit, man.
I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time.
Good, that's why I took some extra time.
Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak, and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.